Hare Kṛṣṇa. Welcome to this episode of Bhagavad Gita. Today's verse is chapter 3, text 42 of Bhagavad Gita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome to this episode of Bhagavad Gita, and today's topic is chapter 3, text 42. Just a second. Please chant after me, word by word. Just before that, I would like to check the status of the live stream. Looks all okay. All right. Indriyani parani ahu indriyebhyah param manah manasah tu para बुद्धि यह बुद्धेः परतः तु सः. Now let's chant line by line. Repeat after me. Indriyani paranyahur indriyebhyah param manah मनसस्तु परा बुद्धिर यो बुद्धेः परतस्तु सः. इंद्रियाणि पराण्याहुर इंद्रियेभ्यः परं मनः मनसस्तु परा बुद्धिर यो बुद्धेः परतस्तु सः. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda ki Jaya. Translation: the working senses are superior to dull matter, mind is higher than the senses, intelligence is still higher than the mind, and he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. Purport: the senses are different outlets for the activities of lust. Lust is reserved within the body, but it is given vent through the senses. Therefore, the senses are superior to the body as a whole. These outlets are not in use when there is superior consciousness or Kṛṣṇa consciousness. In Kṛṣṇa consciousness, the soul makes direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the hierarchy of bodily functions, as described here, ultimately ends in the Supreme Soul. What does that mean? What does this sentence mean? So, in today's verse, there is a hierarchy that is mentioned. The working senses are superior to the dull matter. This body is made up of matter, and even a dead body has seemingly the entire shape of the senses and all the body is still intact. But the senses are not working because the soul has gone out of that body. So the senses are in shape only, but they are not functional. In that state, it is just a mass, a lump, and it is not of any use. So our body is a lump of matter, but higher than the body is the senses, because the senses actively engage with the material world, with the objects of the senses. Whereas the body, just like a dead body for example, it does not engage with the objects of the senses. Right? So this is the body. This body is always dead. Even while it is so-called alive, it is dead. It appears alive because it only is because of the presence of the soul. Otherwise, it is dead. So the body by itself does not engage with the objects of senses, but the senses do, especially when the soul is there. So therefore, the senses, which are interfaces, with the material world, those are higher than the body. Therefore, but the mind is the leader of all the senses, and mind is the center of activity. Mind is the center of all activity. Therefore, mind is superior to the senses. The intelligence creates the determination using which the mind will carry its activities forward. The mind's activities are dependent on the intelligence determination. So that is a function of intelligence, to have determination. So some people have determination, say for example, to build their bodybuilding. So it requires a great deal of energy, a great deal of perseverance to build, Arnold Schwarzenegger or Bruce Lee. Great deal of determination is needed. So there is also determination, and after that determination, the mind engages the senses, and the working senses are put into action, and then the desired result is achieved. So that is determination. Or even to do a business, successful business, or to study for the exams. It all requires determination. So what is the determination that the intelligence decides? Depending on that, the mind will act and carry forward the activities. So because the mind's activities are dependent on the determination of the intelligence, therefore the intelligence is higher than the mind, and the soul is higher than the intelligence. Because intelligence without the soul, what is that? There's no meaning to that. So the soul is the center of all activities, but in this material world it acts through the mind. Firstly, it identifies itself wrongly because of false ego, and then because of that determination or that understanding, and then there is this strong determination to act on the bodily platform, and because of that determination the mind acts, engaging the senses, and the senses interact with the objects of the senses. In this way, we interact with this material world. Now, in this sentence, though, it is said, in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, the soul makes direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the hierarchy of bodily functions, as described here, ultimately ends in the Supreme Soul. Now, we have body, senses, mind, intelligence, soul. That is how much it is explained here. But then there is the Supreme Soul, Paramatma. or Kṛṣṇa. So there is where it should end. And in fact, to control the senses and engage them in the service of the Supreme Soul, we need knowledge from the Supreme Soul, and the soul receives it, and the intelligence deliberates on it. And then once the determination is based on that knowledge, then the mind's activities are, made in accordance with that conviction. And then the mind has unlimited desires to execute service. And then the mind, gives orders to the senses to serve. And that's how one can fully spiritualize one's existence. So that is what is meant here, ultimately ends in the Supreme Soul. Bodily action means the functions of the senses, and stopping the senses means stopping all bodily actions. But since the mind is active, then even though the body may be silent and at rest, the mind will act, as it does during dreaming. While we are asleep, the body is at rest, the senses are at rest, but the mind is still acting, and therefore we have dreams and we think that is real and all that. But above the mind is the determination of the intelligence, and above the intelligence is the soul proper. Now, just now we have heard about determination, and because of that determination, or whatever this intelligence is fed, whatever information is fed to the intelligence will create the determination according to that knowledge. That's what the intelligence does. And that conviction, that determination forces the mind to act in that way. Now, if I am convinced because of my association, karanam gunasangosya sadasadhyonu janmasu, so according to my association, if I associate with, say, drunkards, and one day my intelligence, will be convinced that, after all, these are nice people, they're not bad people. Slowly the intelligence is accepting the fact that drinking is not that bad after all. And when it is totally acceptable, then one will also take it. So in this way, the intelligence, whatever is convinced about, so that happens because of the association. So many people are convinced in the atheistic manner. They're convinced that the God is not there. Why? Because they associate with similar atheists. They subscribe to that philosophy, and they contemplate it like that. And then Kṛṣṇa, as Paramatma, he is giving that intelligence. Matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha. See, at 15.15, we have the information that sarvasya chaham hridisannivishto matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha. Especially the first two lines is what I wanted to quote. This, I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. So if somebody wants to forget Kṛṣṇa and believe that there is no God, so Kṛṣṇa gives that facility. All right, if you want to forget, fine. From me come remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness also. So if somebody wants to forget, all right, if that's what you wish, so that's what we wanted, and we came into this material world. And here also we are carrying forward that atheistic mentality, and those who are especially carrying it forward very strongly, zealously, they are made to forget. Because they wanted to forget, Kṛṣṇa gives them the facility to forget. And because of that, they are convinced about the materialistic way of life, and because of the convictions, the mind has so many desires, and then the senses act, engaging with the objects of senses. And in this way, people create different paths and different destinations they reach. Now, let us see the kinds of determination. There are determination in the mode of goodness, passion and ignorance. That is explained. I think it's at, let's see, 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. I think it's 26. Let's see. It is somewhere here. I think it's 35 maybe. Yes. Now you see 18.33. 18.33 of Bhagavad Gita. Dhritya yaya dharayate manah pranendriya kriyah yogena vyabhicharinya dhritih sa partha satviki. O son of Pritha, that determination which is unbreakable, which is sustained with steadfastness by yoga practice, and which controls the activities of the mind, life and senses, is determination in the mode of goodness. Let's read the purport also. Yoga is a means to understand the Supreme Soul. One who is steadily fixed in the Supreme Soul with determination, concentrating one's mind, life and sensory activities on the Supreme, engages in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So this is real yoga. Yoga means connection, to connect, to join. So nowadays yoga means just some fancy exercises. But although these asanas are part of the yoga, Hatha Yoga system, and they may have some side benefits like health effects, but that's not at all the aim of yoga. The aim of yoga means to connect back with God. We are now in a state of viyoga, disconnection. We don't have faith whether God is even there. But our natural position is to be completely in conjunction with the Lord and always act by His desires. So that is yoga, to come back to that state of connection with the Lord. So, one who is steadily fixed in the Supreme Soul with determination, concentrating one's mind, life and sensory activities on the Supreme, engages in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. That sort of determination is in the mode of goodness. The word avyabhicharinya is very significant, for it indicates that persons who are engaged in Kṛṣṇa consciousness are never deviated by any other activity. Now, yesterday we have read that intelligence is like, yesterday or day before yesterday, the intelligence is like a prostitute, especially material intelligence, because it is not, instead of being fixed on the Lord, it is many branch, just like a prostitute or unchaste woman is not fixed in one man. So like that, intelligence is like that of those who are materialistic. That is explained, and in this word vyabhichari, avyabhicharinya is the opposite, that no deviation, no moving away from the single pointed attention of serving Krishna. Vyabhichari means prostitute. Vyabhichari. Avyabhichari means chaste woman. Like for man there is brahmachari. That is what he has to be, and then vanaprastha sannyas. But the woman must be avyabhichari, charini. So that means she has to be chaste. So that is since we are all female compared to the supreme male Krishna, we have to be chaste to Krishna. But now we are acting like a prostitute because our intelligence is not chaste to Krishna. It is just having so many desires. It's not chaste. You see. 2.41 of Bhagavad Gita. Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana bahushakhahi anantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam. Those who are on this path is devotional service, are resolute in purpose and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. The difference between the chaste intelligence and the vyabhichari intelligence, or the prostitute-like intelligence. So this prostitution of intelligence is the effect of ignorance of our real self. This can be counteracted by knowledge. By the knowledge, the intelligence is convinced, and then the sensory activities will follow. We are only acting on our determination. Everybody everybody has their own ideals of or values of life, right? Everybody believes their own values in life. Some people are convinced about this is the right thing, and then their mind, their senses will follow that. If somebody is convinced that I have to steal, stealing is good, this is how I can maintain my family. If he is convinced like that and he associates with similar other thieves, then he will be convinced that that is the way. So it is about how we associate, our convictions develop, our determination develops. So that determination, if it is focused on Kṛṣṇa, how can I increase my Kṛṣṇa consciousness? And what should I do to increase that? Always, in that direction. That is proper intelligence. There is another nice verse. 9.4.66. You see, Mayi nirbaddha hridayaha sadhavah samadarshanaha vashe kurvanti mam bhaktya satstriyah satpatim yatha. As chaste women bring their gentle husbands under control by service, the pure devotees who are equal to everyone and completely attached to me in the core of the heart bring me under their full control. Very, very appropriate shloka. It is actually showing, the shloka is showing, actually Lord Narayana himself is speaking this, and he is showing here what is the quality that will attract him. The pure devotees bring Kṛṣṇa under their full control, just as a chaste woman brings her husband under full control. Sometimes even if the husband is wayward, if the wife is chaste, she will bring the husband under her control. That was the case with even Prabhupāda's sister. She, very in a chaste manner, she served her husband. Her husband was like a drunkard, womanizer, but she changed him into a devotee. And then we have examples of even that, what is that? In the Shastra. I have shown this in the Shikshashtaka classes. Forgot where it is. That this woman, she was the wife of a leper Brahmana, and let's see if we can find her out. Yes, here we got it. This is actually from the Shikshashtaka, that explanation. So, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antilila, chapter 20, text 57. The wife of a Brahmana suffering from leprosy manifested herself as the topmost of all chaste women by serving a prostitute to satisfy her husband. She thus stopped the movement of the sun, brought her dead husband back to life, and satisfied the three principal demigods Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwar. The power of a chaste woman, she could satisfy the three Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwar, and she could stop the movement of the sun. Who can do that? She actually did it. The story is there, and in the purport it is there. We will read that. She did that just by the power of her chastity. A man gets his mystic powers by practicing yoga system, but a woman gets her power by chastity. The same power as what the man gets by yogic practice, she gets by chastity. That's why it is said, how powerful was Bhishma Dev, as powerful was Gandhari, because she was so chaste to her husband Dhritarashtra. Now, how come this lady, the wife of this Brahmana, suffering from leprosy, became so powerful? Now you see this purport. The Aditya Puran, Markandeya Puran and Padma Puran tell about a Brahmana who was suffering from leprosy but had a very chaste and faithful wife. Now this person is a Brahmana, but he was suffering from leprosy and he had a very chaste and faithful wife. He desired to enjoy the company of a prostitute. You look at him, he's already suffering from leprosy. He had a chaste wife looking after him, but he was so ungrateful, he wanted to enjoy the company of a prostitute, and therefore his wife went to her and became her maidservant just to draw her attention for his service. She was thinking, I have to serve my husband no matter what, and The husband was wanting a prostitute. I mean, he's already a leper. Still, even she was taking care of him so nicely, he wanted to enjoy with the prostitute. And she, in order to satisfy her husband, went to the extent of going to that house of the prostitute and serving her as a maid servant and satisfy her with her service. Then the prostitute asked, "What do you want?" "My husband wants to enjoy with you. Please enjoy with him. Please satisfy him." Like that. No, she asked like that. I mean, where can you find a wife like that? So here it is said, and therefore his wife went to her and became her maid servant just to draw her attention for his service. So although she was her servant, her devotion was not to her but to her husband. See that? When the prostitute, although you see it looks like she was after serving a prostitute, but actually she was serving her husband. The chastity is so strong that even when there was absolute chance of complete breakage of the marriage, she was so fixed in service to the husband. When the prostitute agreed to associate with him, the wife brought her the leprotic husband. You see, she brought the husband to the wife, this prostitute. When that leper, the sinful son of a Brahmana, saw the chastity of his wife, he finally abandoned his sinful intentions. While coming home, however, he touched the body of Markandeya Rishi, who thus cursed him to die at sunrise. You see, now what happened? When this this wife, she did not even tell the husband that she was going to serve the prostitute. She just went silently, and as if she went to the market or something, she went to the house of the prostitute and served her nicely as a maid servant, and then went to the market and then bought whatever things to be bought to the home, like that. And then she did not even tell the husband. She wanted to give him a surprise. And finally, she took him to the prostitute. And then the man felt so bad. He felt so embarrassed by this and really regretted his thinking. And he denied. I mean, he did not want to go ahead. Then while coming home, he touched the body of Markandeya Rishi, who thus cursed him to die at sunrise. Because of his sins, that arrangement was made that he had to be cursed. Because his thought was so bad. Although his wife was so good, his thought was so bad. So it has been arranged by the will of Providence that Markandeya Rishi had to curse him to die by the next sunrise. Now, this wife was so chaste. You see, because of her chastity, the woman was very powerful. Therefore, when she heard about the curse, she vowed to stop the sunrise. This was her chastity, that she wanted to stop the sunrise to save her husband. That chaste she was. I mean, with what power you can stop the sunrise? But she did it. A chaste woman can do unbelievable things. Like Sita, Mother Sita. She walked through the fire. How was that possible? Because she was chaste. Not for a single moment did she forget Lord Ram. And therefore she could walk through the fire and completely unharmed. That means she was purer than fire. Fire is considered very pure, and we even sterilize things with fire. But she was so pure that fire could not even touch her. She could not be burned by fire. That pure. So they can do unbelievable things. And similarly, even Gandhari, she closed her eyes. She was so beautiful princess. She was the most beautiful actually at her time. The most beautiful princess of her time in the world. All these Miss Universe all have no match at all. And when she heard that her to-be husband, arranged by the parents, was a blind man, she immediately covered. She did not complain, "Hey, come on, I'm a beautiful woman, you should give me a handsome man, and what is this, what kind of arrangement is this, I don't want to marry," tantrum. No, nothing. As soon as she found out that her to-be husband was blind, she immediately covered her eyes. And later on, when Duryodhan, was going to go for battle with the Pandavas, she actually asked him to come before her naked, completely naked. he did not understand why. But mother said, he was a fully grown up man. I mean, he had children already by then, grandchildren. And she asked him to come naked before her. And he was going to her chambers naked, completely naked. And Kṛṣṇa, he knew what was going on. So he came, hey, come on, what is this Duryodhana? At least have some decency. Huh? Cover your private parts at least. Then he put some leaf. Some leaf he put to cover his private parts. And then he left. He went to the chambers of his mother. Then he told, Ma, I'm here. Then she said, all right. Then she opened her eyes. Then she looked at him from top to bottom. Then she regretted that he covered his genitals. And with his genitals he also covered a part of his thigh as well. Now what she wanted to do was, by opening the eyes, she looked at him from top to bottom, and his body became like armor. No arrow, because she wanted to make him invincible in battle. That's what she wanted, because she had love for her son. But then when she opened her eyes and looked at him from top to bottom, she was disappointed. Mind you, that was the first time she was looking at her son. Her whole life she did not even look at the son. Voluntarily she closed her eyes. Look at the chastity. Because of that, she got so much power that just by opening her eyes and looking at him, she made his body steel, like steel. But because that part, the private part, was just covered, and part of the thigh, that part could not be made like steel. And later on, Bhima hit the thigh and finished him. He was dead. Although it was against the rules of warfare, but as they say, all is fair in love and war. Although it is not exactly fair in Kshatriya warfare, but because the Kauravas also resorted to so many, improper acts, like the rigged gambling match, and also in the war also they killed Abhimanyu without proper rules. So many things. So, and Bhishma Dev also did not speak up when Draupadi was being disrobed. That was a total act of injustice. All these things they had done. So therefore, it was a tit for tat. So in that way, it was bona fide. So, and Kṛṣṇa actually asked Bhima to do that. Now, when Gandhari looked at him, she was so disappointed. Why did you have to cover? No, I mean, Kṛṣṇa, I was coming naked, but Kṛṣṇa passed by and he asked me, what is this? And of course, I had to cover, what to do. Kṛṣṇa always has a plan. I mean, she understood the plan of Kṛṣṇa, that her son had to die. But still the body became like steel, the rest of the body. So, what I'm trying to say is the power of the woman. The woman can get unlimited yogic power just by becoming chaste. And here, this lady, just an ordinary woman, seemingly wife of a leper Brahmana, did not even have a qualified husband, and he was looking for a prostitute, completely fallen. But her chastity was so powerful that she vowed to stop sunrise. I mean, yachak shuresha savita sagalagrahanam raja samasta suramurti rashesha teja yasyagnyaya bhramati sambhrita kala chakro govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. On Krishna's order, yasyagnyaya bhramati sambhrita kala chakro, whose agnya? Govindamadi purusham. Krishna's agnya, or on Krishna's order, the sun is moving. And she vowed to stop sunrise. She wanted to manipulate reverse the whole laws of the Lord. Therefore, when she heard about the curse, she vowed to stop the sunrise. Because of a strong determination to serve her husband, the three deities, namely Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwar, were very happy. Actually, she stopped the sunrise. Sun was not rising. Then the three greatest controllers of the universe, they saw, wow, what is happening? Very happy with her chastity. and they gave her the benediction that her husband would be cured and brought back to life. This example is given herein to emphasize that a devotee should engage himself exclusively for the satisfaction of Kṛṣṇa without personal motives. That will make his life successful. This brings to mind another story of the gopis, where they worship Katyayani, goddess Durga. So although it looked like their devotion was for Durga, actually their devotion was for Kṛṣṇa. They wanted Durga's benediction so that they can serve Kṛṣṇa very well, so that Kṛṣṇa can become their husband. And that's how the Rasa Leela actually happened. So, you see, although sometimes devotees, of course this is not to be imitated, now we start worshipping all the demigods and ask for benediction to worship Kṛṣṇa. We can't imitate this, because the Guru is the sum total of all the demigods. So by worshipping Guru, everything is, all the demigods are always satisfied. What to speak, even Kṛṣṇa is satisfied. But even though, like in gopis, you see, they look like they were doing Katyayani Vrata, they were actually doing, Kṛṣṇa Puja. And also another example is Yudhishthir Maharaj. He performed Rajasuya Yajna and he performed in a battle and so many Yajna, Ashwamedha Yajna. But although these are Karmakanda activities, he was not interested in them. It looked like he was engaged in Karmakanda. But he did that because Kṛṣṇa asked him to do. That's it. His interest was just to serve Kṛṣṇa. So although it looks like, just like this woman, wife, it looks like she is a servant of a prostitute. And when you serve a person who is so bad, then you get all bad qualities. But she was actually serving her husband. So although it looks like she is doing something else. So what I'm trying to say, we have to be chaste like this to Kṛṣṇa. The intelligence has to be single-pointedly focused on Kṛṣṇa. Even though we may be engaging in this world in so many activities, our mind completely, especially our intelligence, and then with the intelligence, the conviction, then the mind will be engaged. Therefore, this is the exact reason why Kṛṣṇa said in the 8th chapter, 7th verse of Bhagavad Gita, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhya mayyarpita mano buddhir mame vaishyasya samshayah. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Kṛṣṇa and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. The mind and intelligence should be fixed on Kṛṣṇa. The mind, just like Ambarish Maharaj, the mind he fixed on Kṛṣṇa. So, how did he do that? Because he was convinced with spiritual knowledge that his intelligence was convinced that this is actually the path and my mind should just be fixed on Kṛṣṇa. Because of that's why it is said, manah phalam tad gunatattva chintanam. The fruit of the mind, that means the real success of the mind is to be always thinking of the gunatattva chintanam, the philosophy of Kṛṣṇa consciousness. And the intelligence has to deliberate on that. Then the mind will be engaged in the service of Kṛṣṇa, and then all the senses will follow. So if you see in the Sanskrit, Mayyarpita mano buddhir. Now today we know that the body, senses, mind, intelligence, false ego. And then finally soul, and then the supreme soul. So coming back, you see this. But above the mind is the determination of the intelligence, and above the intelligence is the soul proper. Oh yeah, we did not actually see the other determination. 18 dot, we have seen 33, but we'll see it again. You see, again, yogena avyabhicharanya. This is avyabhichari. So this is, O son of Pritha, that determination which is unbreakable, which is sustained with steadfastness by yoga practice, and which thus controls the activities of the mind, life and senses, is determination in the mode of goodness. Another verse, and then we will come back here. See, this is 14.26. Mam chayo vyabhicharena, is apostrophe means avyabhicharena. Yah avyabhicharena becomes yo vyabhicharena, sandhi. Otherwise it is avyabhicharena. Again this word, you see. Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, this is called avyabhichari. Unfailing, just like the wife, her devotion to the husband, the chaste wife, so strong, unfailing. Even there is complete reasons to give up the husband. I mean, there is absolutely no reason to live with the husband. But still, the devotion of the wife does not change, even flinch a little bit to the husband. That means she is completely chaste. So like that, similarly with Kṛṣṇa, although there may be every single reason to forget him and go away from him, that means even if everything goes wrong seemingly, because Kṛṣṇa tests our determination at every level, he will test our determination. And if we are giving up on our determination to serve him, that means we are not chaste enough. We have to be purified even more. So when one comes to that point, you see, one who engages in full devotional service, and when we say full, not a second or a fraction of a second lost, that is full devotional service. Not just full-time devotee. Oh, yes, Prabhu, full-time devotee. No, even when I am full-time, I can be spacing out completely. There is so much scope for improvement. It is not that just by donning this color, full-time, we are doing devotional service. No, the mind is still going here and there, right? So that has to be, it's an ongoing process of, removing the gaps lesser and making them lesser and lesser and lesser and lesser until there is no gap. Complete remembrance of Kṛṣṇa all the time. Otherwise it's like fragmented attention on Kṛṣṇa. In between there is like loads of other thoughts. So that gaps should reduce and reduce and reduce and reduce. And then when it becomes no gap, and then not just no gap, then it becomes even more overlap, and become very dense. That is called Sandrananda, intense, dense happiness. So unfailing devotional service will bring that. That's why it is said, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, na shochati na kankshati, samas sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. See, one who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, and at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So what happens when it comes to the level of Brahman? 18.54. Then Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. He has no more lamentations, no more hankerings, completely happy, so happy. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state he attains pure devotional service unto me. Look at that. So when we do unfailing, uninterrupted devotional service, then we come to the level of Brahma Bhuta, which is transcendental to the three modes, and then we can become completely happy and engage in Krishna service, and then one is awarded the pure devotional service. So we have to become to the platform of Nishtha. Nishtha means fixed up. Nice sticky, what is that? Every morning we sing what is that? Shinmata Svakata Kṛṣṇa. How come I forgot? Nashta Prayashu, yes. Nashta Prayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. This Naishtiki, sorry, you see, Naishtiki means irrevocable. That means cannot be taken away now. Fixed. So, by regular attendance in the classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and rendering of service to the pure devotee. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Nityam means always, unfailing, uninterrupted. Ananya. Ananya means without any distraction. That kind of practice we must be accustomed to. We should become acclimatized to that. And that's why it is said 8.8 Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanyagamina na anyagamina paramam purusham divyam yati parthanu chintayan. He who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, is sure to reach me. Kṛṣṇa is, in the other verse in the Bhagavatam, he says, just as a chaste wife serves the husband and brings him under her control, similarly, my devotee, Kṛṣṇa says, brings me under his control with his pure devotion. That means the pure devotee is completely chaste. That is explained here. Not a moment is lost. Sarvabhutastham atmanam sarvabhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha. 6.29 Bhagavad Gita. A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere. And Kṛṣṇa says, for such a person, Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mayi pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachame na pranashyati. For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. See how, this relationship is so very, sweet between the Lord and his devotees. So that is the thing that we need to learn. The intelligence should be like that. Otherwise, it's the intelligence of a prostitute, as we have learned yesterday. Just how to attract this man and that man and this man and that man. That's the intelligence of a prostitute. Now our condition is like that. So going back, we will see Okay, that's determination in the mode of goodness, right? Now determination is in the mode of passion. Now see what happens. Yaya tu dharma kamarthan dhrityadharayate arjuna prasangena phalakankshi dhriti sa partha rajasi. But that determination by which one holds fast to fruitive results in religion, economic development and sense gratification is of the nature of passion, O Arjuna. This is when the intelligence is convinced and determined to follow the fruitive results in religion, economic development and sense gratification. So he wants to follow the Vedic path, but his aim is to get fruitive results. So these people are passionate. They are phalakankshi. That means they always want the result oriented people. They want to achieve something in this world. whether it's in this life or the next life or like that. Purport: any person who is always desirous of fruitive results in religious or economic activities. Now, in today's context, many people are not religiously inclined. Economically, yes, everybody is inclined, and they want results of economic results. They want to make business, they want to make money. So anybody who is desirous of these things, whose only desire is sense gratification, and whose mind, life and senses are thus engaged, is in the mode of passion. Then 1835, Yaya swapnam bhayam shokam vishadam madamevacha namuchan na vimunchati durmedha dhritih sa parthatamasi. And that determination which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness and illusion, such unintelligent determination, O son of Partha, is in the mode of darkness. Purport: it should not be concluded that a person in the mode of goodness does not dream. Here, dream means too much sleep. Dreaming is always present, either in the mode of goodness, passion or ignorance. Dreaming is a natural occurrence. But those who cannot avoid oversleeping, who cannot avoid the pride of enjoying material objects, who are always dreaming of lording it over the material world, and whose life, mind and senses are thus engaged, are considered to have determination in the mode of ignorance. So, now you see, in all the three verses, the purport, we see this phrase, whose life, mind and senses are thus engaged. That means his modes of activities, his mind and senses are dependent on his determination, on how his determination is acting. If the determination is in the mode of goodness, that way, and passion and accordingly, and then ignorance accordingly. So this is important to understand, that what we learn here is that how the intelligence creates the determination, in which mode, that way our mind and then our senses will be acting. So if our intelligence and mind are put in the mode of goodness, and especially Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness, then one can become Kṛṣṇa conscious. So how is one convinced? How is one convinced of a certain mode? Now, how does one have determinations in the mode of ignorance or passion when it is not a good thing? Then how is he convinced? The conviction is because it is not by so-called logic or so-called brain power that we get determined in certain way. It is according to what we are fed. We are fed one thing, and then our determination stays in that way. And then if another thing is presented, we will reject it first, because it doesn't appear, it doesn't tally with what we have already experienced. For example, God is a fact, but the atheistic, so-called scientific-minded person, he is taught from the very beginning of life to see life in an atheistic way. So, when the opposite conclusion is presented, he will automatically reject, because his intelligence has been contaminated with this ignorance, which he thinks is knowledge. And this is why it is said, Mayaya pahrita jnana, the knowledge which is stolen by illusion. And because of that, his determination is misplaced. Such misplaced intelligence and misplaced determination creates a prostitution of intelligence, and therefore we cannot be chaste to Kṛṣṇa in this material world. Everybody, each one of us, we have come here because we have engaged in the business of prostitution of intelligence, and that's why we are here. And now we must learn how to become chaste to Kṛṣṇa, and that's the exact thing what Kṛṣṇa consciousness is all about. The whole process of Kṛṣṇa consciousness is this. And another feature in today's verse, like we have this gradation of senses, right? I mean, the body and then the senses and then the mind, intelligence, soul and then supreme soul. Below the mind or in the body level, there are the 5 elements: gross elements, which is Panchabhuta. Bhumir, Apa, Anala, Vayu, Kham. That means earth, water, fire, air, ether. So these are the material elements, gross material elements, and then the three subtle material elements, which is Mana, Buddhi, Ahankar. (7.4) of Bhagavad Gita. So Bhumirapo nalo vayu khammano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakritirashtadha. This is also gradations. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence and false ego, all together, these 8 constitute my separated material energies. So each one is higher than the other in subtlety. It will become more and more subtle. The earth is the grossest, the most physical, the most tangible thing in this world. Then water is a little subtle because it doesn't have a fixed shape, it just moves, and there's no smell, whereas earth has even smell. And then so it can only be perceived with 4 senses. Earth can be perceived with all 5 senses. Water can be perceived with 4 senses. What are they? Hearing, feeling, seeing, and tasting. Water. But smelling, no. There's no smell. But of course, water, if it is contaminated with some other substance, then it has smell. That means that water is not pure water, it is mixed with some earth element, some chemical or whatever it is, flavor that is coming from earth. Any flavor comes from earth. So when a juice, for example, has flavor, smell and taste, that means it is mixed with the earth element. That's why every fruit has different tastes, because that flavor is taken from the earth. So the flavor of the orange, the flavor of the banana, the flavor of the mango, it's all in the earth. Otherwise, where it has come from? It is in the earth. But Kṛṣṇa, by his mystic power, through the potency of the seed, he can extract that particular taste from the earth, that flavor, smell. So this is subtle science. So anyway, so like this, then the water is a little more subtle because only 4 senses can perceive it, and then the fire, only 3 senses can perceive it. There is no taste, the rest are there, and there is no taste and smell. So, you say fire has smell, when there is fire, you smell something, right? That means some earthly element is being burnt. Again, it has to be earthly element. So that's what causes the smell. Otherwise, fire itself has no smell. It has only form, it has sound, it has feeling. So it appears, with our skin we can feel fire, with our sound we can hear fire, and then with eyes we can see fire. So, and then air, only two senses, it can't be seen, but it can be felt, it can be heard. Then sound or ether can only be with one, only sound. So the air, there is feeling. In the ether, there is no feeling also. The skin also doesn't, you can't find it. So in this way, as we go higher and higher, it becomes more subtle and more subtle. And subtle means we can't perceive these things with our gross senses. It becomes lesser and lesser and lesser. And mind, none of the 5 senses can perceive the mind. But you know it is there. But you can't feel it with any of the 5 senses. You can't hear it, you can't touch it, you can't see it, you can't taste it, you can't smell it, but you know it is there. So this is even more subtle. And higher than that is the intelligence, which is even more subtle. And higher than that is the false ego, which is even more subtle. The misidentification with the body, that is a false ego. That is so subtle, it's very hard to pinpoint that we have a problem. The problem is our false ego, that I misidentify myself. Ego means identity. Ego, we're not meaning ego means the pride, and not that. Ego means identity. What is my identity? That is ego. False ego means false identity. I think I am matter. There's true ego. True ego means I am the servant of Kṛṣṇa. Still the I is there. Mayavadis, they say we should remove the I. I means pride, aham, mamata, I and mine. We should remove that. So I should never say I. There was a foolish follower of Mayavad philosophy who used to visit us at our book distribution regularly when we were on the street. He's he's just like a vagabond. He just roams around and is barefooted, and it's like a hippie, hippie kind of person. So he was somewhere from the Western countries, maybe America, but he always stayed in Singapore, and then we used to see him in book distribution on the streets. So every time he comes to us, he irritates us. He tries to irritate us, and then he says he'll put on this like very serene face. Then he'll come to us and say, "How are we?" He doesn't say, "How are you?" or "I am fine." He doesn't use the word I. We are all one. This Mayavad philosophy. He's actually into this Mayavad philosophy and all that. I don't know if he's into anything else, substance abuse. I don't know. He looks always drugged out, but he says like that. He comes to us and says, with a fake peaceful look on his face, "How are we?" He will ask like that. Then we will have some fun arguing with the guy for some time before we ask him to get out. Because in the beginning we were actually quite patient and quite try to explain to him, you know what, we are not one, we are not amalgamating. Our identity is still there, and we showed so many quotes from the Gita and all that. But his determination was in the mode of passion or ignorance somewhere, and then he could not easily accept this thing. So he was still in that Mayavad. This is what happens, if we are fed with Mayavad intelligence. That's why it is said, Mayavad bhashya sunile hoy sarvanash. Whatever we hear, we will become convinced of that. It just requires more and more hearing of that. We will become convinced of that as a reality. That's why it is said, if a lie is repeated 100 times, people will accept it as the truth. It is not about, people don't see it on the merit of it. They just see how many times it is repeated and who all repeated it. If some prestigious person or some authorized or something which is supposed to be authorized, like for example the moon landing hoax. Big news channel is reporting. Now everybody has faith in that news channel. So if he's saying it must be true, come on. So in that way, when the lie is told by leaders, whom people look up to, then they will believe. So that's how, there's nothing wrong in believing, but we have to believe the right thing. We have to take knowledge from the right person. That's why the parampara system is so important. Evam parampara praptam emam rajarsho vidu. Then our intelligence, our determination will be properly placed with full correct knowledge, not this imperfect knowledge, which is actually a product of ignorance. Knowledge is always perfect. Imperfect knowledge is actually an oxymoron. It doesn't really fit. Imperfect knowledge means actually it is ignorance in the name of knowledge. This is called Mayaya apahrita jnana. Mayaya apahrita jnana. Apahrita means apaharanam, means kidnapped, stolen. So jnana, stolen by Maya. So it looks like intelligence, it looks like knowledge, but it's actually ignorance. Therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur described mundane education to be Jada Vidya Jatam Mayar Vaibhav, Tumar Bhajana Badha. It is an impediment to your service, Kṛṣṇa. In the name, in the disguising itself as knowledge, the ignorance comes in the disguise of knowledge and bewilders us, and we will put our faith in that. Our intelligence becomes convinced, our determination is based on our convictions, and our mind is engaged in the culture of nescience because of this illusion. Therefore, it is ignorance, knowledge stolen by ignorance. Mayaya apahrita jnana. So, what I wanted to say is this: as we go higher and higher, it becomes more and more subtle, and soul is even more subtle than the false ego, and the supreme soul is even more subtle. Very hard. That's why it is said, what is that? Ata Sri Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Grahyam Indriyaihi. Our senses cannot understand, or even our mind or intelligence cannot understand at any time. That's why in the Ishopanishad we have learnt, Anejadekam Manasojaviyo Naina Deva Apnuvan Purvamarshad Tadhavatonyaan Atyeti Tishthat Tasmin Napo Matarishvadadhati. So he is so fast, Krishna is so fast, he is faster than the mind. That means what? How much ever our mind may speculate, whatever it means, how much expanse it can go, still it will never reach Krishna. Never. Way beyond the purview of the mind, intelligence and senses. But then you may ask, but why did Krishna say engage your mind and intelligence? If with our mind and intelligence we cannot catch Krishna at all, why is he asking us to engage our mind and intelligence in his service? How to engage if we cannot even catch him? So, how to engage? By submissiveness, by surrender. First, we have to accept him as the Supreme, and we have to take instructions from him. This mind and intelligence, when we cannot catch, that means this speculation about him, to know God with our speculative powers, that we can never do so. But the mind and intelligence is one of the energies of Krishna, and it has to be used in Krishna's service. So when we are employing that mind and intelligence properly in the mood of service to Krishna, accepting Krishna's words and then acting on them, that is called Mayarpita Mano Buddhir. Although he cannot be captured, but with our mind and intelligence he cannot be captured. But if we engage under his direction, how Krishna says, think of me, what I have revealed, that you accept. So that is why our intelligence should be used to contemplate on the knowledge and all the leelas revealed by Krishna, not independent of them. That is subjugated intelligence, that is submissive intelligence. But this challenging intelligence will not get us anywhere. To challenge the authority of Krishna and try to understand him by our own intellectual powers, no, that will not get us anywhere. But if we accept the knowledge from Krishna and act according to his directions, then our intelligence is properly placed, our mind is properly placed, and our senses will be properly placed. Another thing Prabhupada said, now this gradations of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. Now if you see what is going on in the name of science in the present day, earth for example, there are so many books on earth subject. We're not talking just about geography. Geography is one of them. Mining, oil, drilling, that is also earth. Fossil fuels, metallurgy, and the creation of even gadgets and everything, all these materials we take from earth, all that is earth. Then there are a little bit fewer books on water, little bit fewer books on fire, little bit lesser knowledge on air, and ether, even lesser knowledge. Mind, psychology is even lesser, and it's not very concrete. Their understanding of psychology is all the time changing. It's not very, they have to do studies and samples and very imperfect way of psychological studies. And then there is intellectual studies, even lesser. Finally, false ego, they have no information of it. They somehow sometimes come to a questioning like, who am I and why am I here? But then they fall back into the gross elements again. Then there is the soul, which they have absolutely no clue. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, Krishna says, Dehinosmin yatha dehi. He is talking about the soul. Prabhupada therefore said that our knowledge starts at a point that these material scientists have not even reached, and they will never even reach even after thousands and millions of years. Our knowledge starts at that point and it goes higher. As we go, higher, Bhagavad Gita is also the second chapter. Soul. That soul is so subtle that all these, you see, earth, water, fire, air and ether, you see, all these things are what they are interested in. Now in big buildings, Burj Khalifa and now the Kingdom Tower, which is going to be the tallest building in the world, I think about 1 mile tall, which is 1.6 kilometers tall. I mean, can you imagine? So they're going to make this tallest. What is that? That is a mixture of earth, water, fire and intelligence of a few engineers and labor of many workers. But it's about this earth. Just pile up earth somewhere, just like ant hills. Ants, they also create ant hills. They also create their own skyscrapers. So we are just competing with the ants. Our intelligence is as good as the ant intelligence. If we are doing all this skyscraper civilization and think that is advancement, then the ants are also doing such civilizations. They have huge ant hills, very nice, very intricate passageways inside, and a huge cities they construct, and nobody can match their workmanship. So our knowledge is here, way higher than what these materialists can even imagine. Now coming back to today's verse. That's why if you actually study each of these verses in depth, we can study to any depth. We can go to so much depth actually. Before we even go, another verse. Because the determination in the mode of goodness, thus the mind, senses and life are engaged in that way, right? In every 3 of the verses purport we have seen that. Now, this is the mode of goodness. Kayena vacha manasendriyairva buddhyatmana vanusrita svabhavat karoti yadyat sakalam parasmai narayanayeti samarpayetat. In accordance with the particular nature one has acquired in conditioned life. That means according to goodness, passion and ignorance. According to the determination that we have created. Whatever one does with body, words, mind, senses, intelligence or purified consciousness, one should offer to the supreme thinking, this is for the pleasure of Lord Narayana. And if one can do that, that is determination in the mode of goodness. That's why Kṛṣṇa also said in the Bhagavad Gita 9.27, Yat karoshi yad ashnasi yad juhoshi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. These are all activities of the mind and the senses and intelligence. And he's saying, do that as an offering to me. That means, first of all, we have to be convinced of Kṛṣṇa being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if we have submissive intelligence for Kṛṣṇa, evam parampara praptam, we have to be submissive and inquire from the Guru and render service unto him. In that way, that becomes the proper channel. That becomes a fertile ground in which the seed of devotion can sprout and grow luxuriantly. Then our intelligence will be properly placed, and then all the activities, automatically, the mind and the senses engage in that way. We all act depending on our convictions in life. So if our convictions are on Kṛṣṇa as a supreme goal of life, that's it. And because people do not have this conviction, because their intelligence is polluted, avishuddha buddhaya, because of that, they do not know what is the aim of life, what is the goal of life. Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.31 Nate vidu swartha gatim hi vishnum durashayaye bahirarthamaninaha andhayathandhai rupaniyamanas tepi shatantriyam urudam nibaddhaha. Persons who are strongly entrapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life. You see? They determine, strongly entrapped. Their determination is strong to enjoy material life. And who have therefore accepted as their leader or guru a similar blind man attached to external sense objects, cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home back to Godhead and engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. This is why they do not know. And in that ignorance, their intelligence, their determination is fixed on sense gratification. As blind men guided by another blind man miss the right path and fall into a ditch, materially attached men led by another materially attached man are bound by the ropes of fruitive labor which are made of very strong cords, and they continue again and again in materialistic life, suffering the threefold miseries. This is what happens. Narte vidhu swarthagatim hi Vishnu. Because their intelligence is not purified. Avishuddha buddhaya. Even if one is, that's why in the Ishopanishad it is said, even if one, what is that? Tato bhuya ivate tamo yau sambhutyamrata. Even if one goes to the spiritual domain and understanding, Brahma and Paramatma, if he doesn't understand Bhagavan, still avishuddha buddhaya, his intelligence is still not, his determination is still not there to serve Krishna. And therefore he has to fall down. That is explained in this verse. 10.2.32 Yennyeravindaksha vimuktamaninastrayasta bhavada vishuddha buddhaya aruhya kṛṣṇa parampadam tataha anad patantyadho nadrita yushmadankrayah. The patantyadho means they fall down again. Aruhya kṛṣṇa, with so much endeavor they go up so high, giving up all, they sacrifice so many things to get to that stage of Brahman realization, Paramatma realization, but they fall down. Because why? The intelligence, avishuddha. Shuddha means what? Pure. Vishuddha means very pure. Avishuddha means very impure, contaminated, polluted. Someone may say that aside from devotees who always seek shelter at the Lord's lotus feet, there are those who are not devotees but who have accepted different processes for attaining salvation. What happens to them? In answer to this question, Lord Brahma and the other demigods said, O lotus-eyed Lord, although non-devotees who accept severe austerities and penances to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated, vimukta maninas, they may think, they may speculate that they are already liberated, their intelligence is impure. They fall down from their position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. So our determination should be this fixed determination. Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandvamoha nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavratah. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. Now it is said here that persons who act piously in previous and in this life. Now you may say, I may not have acted so piously. It doesn't matter. If we take up now the process in full surrender, the same result one will have. Same result, even if we do it now. The moment we understand the urgency of Krishna consciousness, as stated yesterday, if we take it up in all earnestness, then we can have the same benefit even in this life. But we have to completely become determined that I just want to follow this, that's it. Whatever Prabhupada says, I will follow. If that is our intelligence, if we determine like that, that's it. Because whatever he says is whatever Krishna says, right? So that is sakshat dharitvena samasta shastrair. So that's how our intelligence should be molded. So now going back, we'll read from the purport. But above the mind is the determination of the intelligence, and above the intelligence is the soul proper. If therefore the soul is directly engaged with the Supreme, naturally all other subordinates, namely the intelligence, mind and senses, will be automatically engaged. In the Katha Upanishad, there is a similar passage in which it is said that the objects of sense gratification are superior to the senses. You see, this is a new thing here. In the Katha Upanishad, I don't know, the exact shloka is not quoted here, but you see this translation of it. In the Katha Upanishad, there is a similar passage stating the hierarchy of the senses and mind and all that. There it is said that the objects of sense gratification are superior to the senses. Here, the senses are superior to the body, and superior to the senses are the mind. But between the senses and the mind, there is another thing here mentioned in the Katha Upanishad, that is, the objects of sense gratification are higher than the senses because they pull the senses. If I can be attracted by something, that thing which is attracting me is more powerful than me, right? So because the senses are attracted to the sense objects pull the senses, therefore they are higher than the senses. Then the mind starts, plans. Then the intelligence, which is always fed these advertisements of Maya. Whatever we hear in this material world is an advertisement. Why? Because it is inducing us to act in a certain way. What is an advertisement? What is an advertisement? Let's see what is an advertisement. Define advertisement. Let's see the dictionary definition of advertisement. A notice or announcement in a public medium. I don't know if you can see that. A notice or announcement in a public medium promoting a product, service or event or publicizing a job vacancy. Well, a person or thing regarded as a means of recommending something. So basically, an advertisement is a device meant to induce us to take an action. That's what an advertisement is. I don't know how they have define it in a certain way, but psychologically how it works is that advertisement why do people advertise their services or products? So that we buy them. So they want to induce us into an action by saying something about it. So that's what an advertisement is. That I feel is the correct definition of advertisement. Now when we hear anything, it creates certain impressions in our mind and intelligence, and our convictions about life, our viewpoints about life get molded because of those words that we hear, those things that we see, those things that we perceive. So that is practically an advertisement, and according to that we act. So our actions depend on what we hear. So if we hear a lie 100 times, we will think that is true, and we will act according to that, in response to that. So Maya is always advertising us, advertising to us. And billboards, just like, why are billboards there? Why are, when you're scrolling, maybe Facebook or YouTube or something, there are ads there. Why? They want to grab your attention. So these sense objects, they grab the attention of the senses, and then the mind starts to dwell on them. Mind is like a crystal ball, like a mirror. Cheto darpana marjanam. Darpan. Darpan means mirror. The Shikshashtaka, the first 2-3 words are Cheto darpana marjanam. So Cheto darpana. Darpan means mirror. Cheta means this mind or heart. This mind is like a mirror. Whatever we see, it will reflect. But it's more than just an ordinary mirror. Because a mirror will reflect whatever is right in front of the mirror. And then when the thing moves away, it will reflect whatever else is in the mirror. Is in front of the mirror. So it does not endure. Whereas the mind is more complicated than that. We see something, and that picture remains in the mind for a long time. Suppose we watch a horror movie in the theater. We go in the night and then watch a horror movie. What happens after that? While you're watching, yes, it's all scary and all that. And once you come out, even before you come out, when the movie ends, then you start looking into the theater and then looking at all the corners and where somebody, my ghost might come or something like that. And when after coming out of the theater, when you're walking on the street, just look at maybe from the trees there will be something coming out, or all these things. Why? because the mind is just dwelling on that. Or when one, like in Indian movies, there are so many songs. So we are singing the song over and over again, right? If one watches a movie, these things, whatever we see, the impressions carry with us. So it is reflecting in the mind for a long time. And sometimes these are lifelong remembrances, memories. And sometimes memories come from even before this current life. Like sometimes when we dream, we dream of a scene which never happened in our life. That is because the mind is working, and the mind has been the same mind that has been with us for millions of years, for millions of lifetimes. So those memories which were just stuck somewhere in the bottom of our memory, like bubbles, sometimes from the seabed, the bubble, or the riverbed, the bubble just comes all the way up to the surface, and like that, they manifest and we see as dreams, or sometimes we have this deja vu experiences when we feel that, hey, I've experienced this before, or something like that. Why do these things happen? Because of some conflicting memories, like from our very infinite past. So the mind is a very tricky mirror, and whatever we feed it, our mind just reflects it, and our intelligence will dwell on it and rationalize it. So it does not matter whether a person has intellectual powers. He will still be a fool if he is fed with this Maya advertisement. So because his intelligence, although very powerful, will be engaged in the service of that Maya, according to that Maya knowledge. Therefore, it doesn't matter. That's why spiritual life is not based on our material intelligence. Even if a person is not so-called intelligent in the material sense, but if he takes to Kṛṣṇa consciousness, he is far, far more intelligent than the so-called intelligentsia of this mundane world. So, in the Katha Upanishads it is said that the objects of sense gratification are superior to senses, and mind is superior to the sense objects. If therefore the mind is directly engaged in the service of the Lord constantly, then there is no chance that the senses will become engaged in other ways. This mental attitude has already been explained. Param drishtva nivartate is important. This is 2.59 of Bhagavad Gita. विषयाविनिवर्तन्ते निराहारस्य देहिनः रसवर्जं रसोप्यस्यात् परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. This is important now. Now, if we are engaged in one way, we can't be engaged in another way. This is a good thing, because that limitation can save us. The Lord is multitasker. He does everything at the same time. He can do. He has intelligence unlimited. He knows each and every one of us. Not just the human beings. He knows the animals, the birds, the insects, the grass, the virus, the coronavirus that is going around. He knows. He is in the heart of every single of those living entities. And He knows the desires of every single one of them. And He is providing for them. So, He is a complete multitasker. But we can only focus 100% on a single task. If we are multitasking, we are fragment tasking basically. Our attention is like fragmented kind of. Now, if we are doing one thing with full consciousness, then even though sometimes, just like that example of that woman who has a paramour, she is doing everything in the house, but her mind is always thinking of how to go and meet that paramour. So the thing is, the taste. So there was this one question that was asked by the students of a college to a so-called Swami from a Mayavadi institution. they are not Krishna devotees. They are just Mayavadis, like anything goes and whatever you want to do, you can do kind of movement. They don't believe in, for them Krishna, all demigods, everything is one, just like that kind of movement. So this man, the Swami was asked the question, how to stop lust. So he gave the example that when you are preparing for the exam, you are fully focused in preparing for the exam and you are studying and you are at that time when you are so focused and your exam is tomorrow and you are like completely trying to memorize whatever is there. At that time, the thought of sex doesn't come, right? The thought of lust doesn't come. So like that, we have to be preoccupied all the time in doing something, and thus we can conquer lust. If it is engaged in one way, then it cannot be engaged in the other way, because we are not multitaskers. That's what he said. Now, the problem with that answer is, there has to be taste. Now, I should enjoy something. If I am doing something, yes, maybe for the moment, the mind does not go into lusty thoughts, but that state we cannot maintain it. It is not endurable because there is no taste. One cannot keep on studying for exams all his life and is always in the tense mode. No, it can't be. Our consciousness, our focus and everything goes in ebbs and flows, and sometimes up and sometimes down. So it is not practical to stay high. There was a pamphlet at the Prabhupada's early days, the hippies when they were joining the Hare Kṛṣṇa, the Hayagriva and all that. They made this flyer and distributed among the hippies, "Stay high forever." And they asked them to come to the chanting of Prabhupada and Bhagavad Gita classes and all that. So the heading was "Stay high forever." So if you want to stay high forever, that thing better be much more pleasurable than the lusty desires in order to keep us engaged there all the time. Otherwise, we just can accept one activity, but we can't sustain it because there is no pleasure there. Out of compulsion we are doing it and we can force ourselves for some time, but after that we can't stay there in that mode all the time. But devotional service is different because this taste, param drishtva nivartate, it is not only keeping us occupied but also giving us a taste, a higher pleasure, because of which we can actually give up the lower pleasures of sense gratification. So it's not just about engagement, about being engaged. That's why some people, many times I meet old people, they keep working. I say, why do you work? You're well taken care of, and you have, you're not in a dire need of, existence and, struggle for existence or something. Why don't you just, relax and, read some books, Bhagavad Gita, I can give you some, small books if you want to start with them. And I said, no, sitting idly is, I can't, I need to work, I have to keep myself engaged, otherwise I'll just go mad. So I tell them, perfectly fine, yes, you must be engaged. Why don't you read Bhagavad Gita and books like that? By Prabhupada. Not like that means something else, no, all Prabhupada's books. So I can give you some books, you can read them, and if you can't, of course I can understand that you can't read them all day. You can come to the temple and be engaged. We have so much service in the temple, and you can come and be engaged. You can always be engaged. So why not engage in this way? But they are already in their own. No, I want to be engaged. Some of them, of course, take at least some books. But this is the thing: they want to be engaged, and thinking that just by being engaged, they won't become mad. But what they are engaged in, that is also very monotonous. It doesn't have a taste. They just want to be moving around so that they won't become mad just staying in one place, like lockdown. Now everybody is becoming mad at home. They're having infighting home, the fighting, domestic violence is going on sometimes. It has increased actually, statistics. So this is because this can't be locked up. They want to move out, they want to move about and talk to some people, engage in some way. Just keep engaged. But the thing is that the subject matters they talk about, the things they do, they complain about them also. They say, I need to be engaged. But then they say, today I went to do this and And every day I'm just very tired, I'm very tired, I'm doing this, and I have to meet these people at workplace, and they talk all things, and like they have their own stories, and all these politics happen at workplace, and this and that. They tell all these things, and then they say, I want to be engaged. Just because of that money or something, or they don't know what to do with their lives, and then just they're engaged like that. So, and that's exactly what happens. So, we just can't be engaged in something meaningless. We have to be engaged, and that engagement has to be pleasurable. So much more pleasurable that compared with that, the lusty pleasures which we look for in this world, and among all the lusty pleasures, sex life is the highest. Adirasa. Adirasa means the most, the highest pleasure in this material world is sex. So, one will lose attraction for that, and then one can be absolutely fixed, because ultimately we need happiness. That's what we're looking for. We're not looking for sex, we're not looking for eating some nice food, we're not looking for a good gadget or something. In the end, we want happiness out of all this. Some people say, I don't want gadgets, I want a simple life. What do they actually want? Whether the person who wants gadgets or the person who doesn't want gadgets, both of them want happiness. Whether one is a materialist, whether one is a spiritualist, they want happiness. Because Anandamayo Bhyasa, that is the driving force of our existence. And what we define as happiness, what we are fed into, what is fed into our system as what happiness is, that we will pursue. And we think if we can become successful in that, we will become happy. That's why today's success story is all about the persons who made the most money in the world. Right? The Jack Ma, the Alibaba, what is that group, CEO, richest man, whatever. I think one of the richest men in the world. Why is considered a success story? Because he made money. And he was the same person when he was in his 20s, he tried to apply for a convenience store. Those people at the convenience store, at the cashier counter. He applied for them. He applied for that at a local chain of whatever convenience store. 23 persons applied. 22 got through. One person was rejected, and that was this Jack Ma. So failure, such a failure. He couldn't even get a job at a convenience store cashier counter. Nobody looked up to him. But then when he got money, he's now an icon of the 21st century. Why? Because he has money. And that's how we define success, because that money can give us sense gratification, and then we think that sense gratification is an index of success. So basically, why these success stories are portrayed in different ways is because that's what we define as success, or that's what we are fed as what success means. Economic growth, because that is the facility for sense gratification. So that's what we need to understand, that is wrong. There is a much higher pleasure. Therefore, Vishaya Vinivartante. So therefore, this verse is there. I think next. Let's see. This is what? Yadavadhi mama cheta Kṛṣṇa padara vinde. 15. Oh. Yadavadhi mama cheta Kṛṣṇa padara vinde. Oh, that's not correct. Okay, we'll just chant. I'll figure out the tune later on, because it's a different meter. So anyway, Yadavadhi mama chetah Kṛṣṇa padarvinde nava rasadhamanyudyatam rantumasit tadavadhi batan nari sangame smaryamane bhavati mukha vikaraha sushtu nishtivanam cha. This is what Yamunacharya said. Yamunacharya is the guru of Ramanujacharya. He said, since my mind has been engaged in the service of the lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa and I have been enjoying an ever new transcendental humor, whenever I think of sex life with a woman, my face at once turns from it and I spit at the thought. So sex life, which is the most enjoyable thing in the material world, he is spitting at it because he has an enjoyment far superior in the service of the Lord. This taste will keep us fixed to Kṛṣṇa consciousness. This taste. Therefore, in the 9th chapter, 2nd verse of Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Raja Vidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartum Avyayam. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. That word Susukham. Susukham means very happy. Brahmabhuta Prasannatma. Yayatma Suprasidati. Samprashno Yena Samprasidati. So all these words are, and another word is Sandrananda Prashantatma. One of the features of devotional service, 6 features of devotional service is that Sandrananda, Visheshatma. So one becomes very densely imbued with happiness. Another verse in the Mukundamala Stotra is there. Ninth verse of the Mukundamala Stotra. Sarasi janayane sashankha chakre murabhidima viramasva chittarantum sukhataram aparam na jatu jane hari charana smaranamritena tulyam. O mind, please never stop taking pleasure in thinking of the Mura demon's destroyer, who has lotus eyes and bears the conch and disc weapon. Indeed, I know of nothing else that gives such extreme pleasure as meditating on Lord Hari's divine feet. This pleasure, is what drives the devotee. And who is that? This is Prabhupada's favorite song actually. What is that? Tatala Saikate, what is it? Tatala Saikate Mari Bindu Sama Sukha Sutamita Ramani Samaje. So he said, Tatala Saikate Mari Bindu Sama. Yes. Sutamita Ramani Samaje. So he said that compared with the ocean of bliss of devotional service, the bliss of sex life, which manifests itself as family and wife and children and society, friendship and love, this so-called pleasure of material life is like a drop in the hot sands of the desert. If one is in the desert and one's throat is parched and completely thirsty to the core, and if somebody promises, hey, come, I'll give you some water, and then he opens his water bottle and puts, and then just one drop falls into the mouth, does that even satisfy the person? No. And that's what this happiness of sex life is, or any of the material pleasures, of which the highest is sex. That's how it is compared. So yes, there is some happiness, but that is like a drop in the hot sands of the desert. Whereas the pleasure of Krishna consciousness is like an ocean. Anandambudhi vardhanam pratipadam purnamrita swadanam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describes the ocean of pleasure of Krishna consciousness as an ever-increasing ocean of nectar. So comparatively, there is no comparison. When they say higher pleasure, higher taste, it is not just a little bit higher, It's like an ocean and a drop. An ever-increasing ocean and a drop. Is that difference we're talking about? So this mental attitude has already been explained. Parandraštva nivartate. Okay, on one more verse. This same thing, the conviction of the ultimate pleasure, and then because of that the determination is so fixed on Krishna consciousness, because of this pleasure that is there. You see 6th chapter 20th to 23rd verses. Yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyannatmanitushyati sukham atyantikam yattad buddhigrahyam atindriyam vetti yatra na chaivayam sthitas-chalati tattvataha yam labdhva cha aparam labham manyate na adhikam tataha yasmin sthito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate tam vidya dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga samgnitam. In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This is the state of Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Samadhi means Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Actually, there's a definition of samadhi. We'll go there and come here. You see, I think 244 purport. I think. You see, the Vedic dictionary, the Nirukti says, Samyag adhiyatesmin atma tattva yathatmyam. Samadhi means fixed mind. The Vedic dictionary, the Nirukti says, Samyag adhiyatesmin atma tattva yathatmyam. When the mind is fixed for understanding the self, it is said to be in samadhi. Samadhi is never possible for persons interested in material sense enjoyments and bewildered by such temporary things. They are more or less condemned by the process of material energy. The mind is fixed, that is the chaste mind. That is the sthita prajna, the chaste mind. When the mind is fixed, so that platform is what we are talking about, the samadhi, which is only possible when one takes shelter of Kṛṣṇa. Because even the persons, the transcendentalists who are monists and the Paramatmavadis, they also are not in this samadhi yet. One can only be in samadhi when he is in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. When he doesn't fall down, he is fixed. Because if they are fixed, these transcendentalists should not fall down, right? But aruhya Kṛṣṇena parampadam tattva patantyadho. They will go so up and then they fall down. So fixed means that's it, no moving from there. Sitas-chalati tattvataha. So that is possible in only Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Once one is there, you see, in the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. You see, he is getting so much happiness. Relish and rejoice in the self. Self means the super self, Paramatma, the Kṛṣṇa. In that joyous state, that is the real driver. Anandamaya abhyasa. Once one gets that ultimate joy, one doesn't want anything else. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established, he is established, fixed. Thus, one never departs from the truth. And upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken even in the midst of the greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. So one can completely counteract the material miserable condition by being so fixed in Kṛṣṇa consciousness as explained in this verse here. So this is what our determination, our intelligence should be, which is strengthened by the spiritual knowledge given by the Supreme Soul Kṛṣṇa to the individual soul, which then strengthens the intelligence, which then guides the mind, which in turn guides the senses. And that's how our life is spiritualized and purified. If the mind is engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, there is no chance of its being engaged in the lower propensities. Because of why? First of all, it is engaged. When you're doing one thing, you can't do other thing. So when you're doing Kṛṣṇa conscious activities, you can't do sinful activities. That's one thing. But then also engagement is one thing, but then the taste, that enjoyment in that is the real driver. That sustains that engagement. And then this engagement of Maya engagement is automatically gone. In the Katha Upanishad, the soul has been described as Mahan, the great. Therefore, the soul is above all, namely the sense objects, the senses, the mind and the intelligence. Therefore, directly understanding the constitutional position of the soul is the solution of the whole problem. And how do we get this directly understanding the constitutional position of the soul? How can we understand? Because with our mind we cannot understand, with our intelligence we cannot understand, with our senses we cannot understand the soul. Right? So how to understand then? We can only get knowledge from a superior source. So we have to get up from a source which is superior to the soul. That is only the Supreme Soul, which is Kṛṣṇa. And therefore, only when we receive knowledge from that place, then we can completely solve all problems of life. All problems. With intelligence, one has to seek out the constitutional position of the soul and then engage the mind always in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. That solves the whole problem. A neophyte spiritualist is generally advised to keep aloof from the objects of the senses. But aside from that, one has to strengthen the mind by use of intelligence. Just like we have discussed yesterday that the boys and girls, they should not be actually mixed. They should be kept apart. So that will help to a certain extent. But you can't sustain it unless the intelligence, one has to strengthen the mind by use of intelligence, and the intelligence can be strengthened and sharpened by spiritual knowledge. So without spiritual knowledge, that's why it is said, Prabhupada said, the 4 regulative principles, but also the chanting of Hare Kṛṣṇa. Because without chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa, we cannot really follow the 4 principles. In our mind we'll be thinking of them, in our intelligence, in that direction. Therefore, spiritual knowledge is the base of all these things. So if by intelligence one engages one's mind in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, by complete surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then automatically the mind becomes stronger. And even though the senses are very strong, like serpents, they will be no more effective than serpents with broken fangs. But even though the soul is the master of intelligence and mind and the senses also, still, unless it is strengthened by the association with Kṛṣṇa in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, there is every chance of falling down due to the agitated mind. Although the mind, intelligence and senses are lesser than the soul or inferior to the soul, but because these are actually the potency of Maya, which is personal energy of the Lord, therefore it is so powerful. Although they are inferior energy, because she is directly working under the direction of the Lord, she is so powerful that she can bewilder us even with these lower things. Only when we take shelter of Kṛṣṇa, Mayam Mamevaya prapadyante Mayam etam tarantite. So for such a person, the senses will no longer be dangerous. This is the verse actually. Kaivalyam narakayate. I am searching for the exact translation of the verse because there is so many times this word is used, but this verse is used, but then the translation this will work. So you see this nice verse. Kaivalyam narakayate tridashapur आकाश पुष्पायते दुर्दांतेन्द्रिय काल सर्प पटली प्रोत्खात दंष्ट्रायते विश्वं पूर्ण सुखायते विधि महेन्द्रा दिश्चकीटायते यत्कारुण्य कटाक्ष वैभवतां तं गौरमेवस्तुमः. Kaivalya, oneness in the effulgence of Brahman, appears hellish to the devotee. The heavenly planets, the abodes of the demigods, appear to a devotee like phantasmagorias. The yogis meditate for sense control, but for the devotee, the senses appear like serpents with broken teeth. This is the actual verse which Prabhupada was mentioning in that purport. The devotee doesn't have to control his senses, for his senses are already engaged in the Lord's service. Consequently, there is no possibility that the senses will act like serpents. In the material condition, the senses are as strong as poisonous snakes. But when the senses are engaged in the Lord's service, they are like poisonous snakes with their fangs removed, and so they are no longer dangerous. The entire world is a replica of Vaikuntha for the devotee because he has no anxiety. He sees that everything belongs to Krishna and he does not want to enjoy anything for himself. He does not even aspire for the position of Lord Brahma or Indra. He simply wants to engage everything in the service of the Lord. Therefore, he has no problem. He stands in his original constitutional position. All this is possible when one receives Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's merciful glance. So this is how we have to engage. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktiruchyate Sarvopadhiva Nirmuktam Tatparatvena Nirmalam. So we have to engage in the service of Krishna. Engage all our senses, our mind, our intelligence in service of Krishna. Alright. I think that is the end of the purport, right? Yeah. So now we'll take any questions. Today, significantly lesser number of questions. Okay, first question. I think all questions except one are by Bhakta Virendra. Bhakta Virendra Ekbote from India. Question: the soul resides in the heart, then is it the human brain where the mind and intellect reside? Does bhakti reduce our false ego and makes us realize our real ego or identity to be eternal servant of Krishna? So two questions here. So the soul resides in the heart, then is it the human brain where the mind and intellect reside? Actually, they all are in the heart. Cheta sometimes is translated as the heart, sometimes as the mind, sometimes as the soul. So the thing is, the soul is covered by this mind, intelligence and false ego. But then the intelligence also depends on the brain substance, how much it is revealed. The intelligence and mind is always the same, whether we were in the dog's body or whether we are in the human body. It is the same mind and intelligence and false ego that we have been carrying in all these bodies. But why the dog's intelligence is lesser than the human being? So that is manipulated by the brain substance, and that's how the connection is there between the heart and the brain. So a goat or what is that? Dog, usually they have lesser, or the intelligence is covered more in the mode of ignorance. So therefore their intelligence is only that much revealed, that much showing. So as the coverings of the modes or the modes of nature are removed, the true intelligence becomes manifest and shown. So like that. So sometimes, of course, there is also a mention where Prabhupada mentions that Daksha, when he was offered a goat's head, he was offering his prayers to Lord Shiva and he was exactly acting like what he was, because Daksha was beheaded by Lord Shiva and then he put on a goat's head. Similarly, Lord Shiva did that to his own son Ganesh also. He beheaded him and then added an elephant's head. It basically is a head transplant. And not even a human head transplant, it's an animal head put on a human. But then, the intelligence remained the same, surprisingly. So, what role does the intelligence play? The brain play? It's hard to describe actually. But definitely, we always point mind intelligence here. But then, the soul is covered by this gross body, and of course, a subtle body can actually exist in more than one region. It's like it's more than just in the heart. So maybe there's a more specific description of how this intelligence exactly exists, in which part, because we always point to the head when we talk about intelligence and mind, but mind is actually in the heart. Heart and mind is used synonymously in Vedic literature. But intelligence, sometimes we always point to the head, right? Basically, the brain is governing the entire body's activities, and therefore it is like the central system where everything is. But is that where intelligence is? Intelligence is a very subtle element, and because our brain is usually the one which is controlling the activities of the senses of this body, the gross body, we attribute that place to the intelligence and rational power, And there is some psychological studies which they did that even Prabhupada quoted that many times when he was mentioning that women is less intelligent than man, and when he also always quoted his professor Urquhart, from his Scottish Churches College, where he presented that study of psychologists when they study the grey matter and then the weight of the brain, and the weight of the woman's brain is always I think the maximum it was found to be 34 or 36 ounces, and in man it was found to be a maximum of 72 ounces. So there's a vast difference there. So that is an indication of intelligence. So in a way there is like a kind of relation between the size of the brain and intelligence. And also sometimes they say the number of creases in the brain also is how many creases you have, that many that is how much more intelligent a person is. So they have all these studies. But again, speaking about Vedic, but Prabhupada did quote that as a context. So there is some relation definitely, and according to that our intelligence is revealed. But then again, when Daksha was put the goat head, he did not behave like a goat, nibbling on grass and eating plants. He did not do that. he spoke just like a very learned person, Daksha. And even Ganesh, for that matter, he has a elephant head, but he is not like an elephant. So it's a very subtle thing. It's hard to describe. Then next, Bhakta Virendra. There's a second question there. Does bhakti reduce our false ego? It's not reducing. There is either false or true ego. It's a binary thing, 1 or 0. Either you are false ego or either you are true ego. So of course, when you are transitioning, when we are rising from the material platform to the spiritual platform, what exactly is happening is, we understand that we are servant of Kṛṣṇa, but still we are stuck in our bodily concept. So slowly we are coming out of that. So yes, with bhakti, with more and more we engage in bhakti, our false identification with matter subsides. And yes, as much as that happens, our true ego, our true intelligence, our true identity, is revealed. Yes, the whole process is about bhakti. As we engage more and more our real identity becomes manifested. Next question by Bhakta Virendra. Agya Chakra situated between the eyebrows is the location of mind and intellect. So I asked whether it is the brain. Well, yeah, maybe, I don't know. I actually don't know about this chakras thing. So, yeah, maybe if there is an authorized statement from the Vedic literature that points to this exactly, maybe, then it can be validated, But sometimes when mind and intelligence sometimes is also referred to as the heart. So, it's all connected, it's all interconnected anyway. It's not disconnected, isolated parts. So, next question by Bhakta Venkatesh. Now, more important than where the intelligence is and where the mind is, and when we should know how to use it. Like for example, when you are driving a car, you don't exactly have to know where the piston is and where the whatever parts of the car are. You need to know how to use it to get to your destination. So a person who passes a driving license does not know what is in the car. That is not at all the subject of the test. The subject of the test is how we use it to properly get into the destination and not crash it somewhere. So that's what the test is about. So how can you use it properly? So similarly, it's all very complex systems that this whole human body is to study it anatomically. Anatomy of the human body. It takes many years in the medical school. So it's very, very complex. And the mind, intelligence and false ego are even more complex. Now the main thing is we need to know how to use all these things for our journey to go back to Godhead. So, wherever the mind is, we need to think about Kṛṣṇa. We have to use that mind to think about Kṛṣṇa. So, that's what we need to know. We as a driver of this vehicle, we are not an engineer of this vehicle. Yes, to satisfy our curiosity, Kṛṣṇa explains to some extent, like how everything works and how the universe is working, how our body is working, how the baby is developing in the womb of the mother. These details to an extent are given, but then again, we cannot know completely everything, but we should be satisfied with that knowledge and then proceed on to actually using it in proper way. That's the real thing. By Bhakta Venkatesh, is it like chaste husband terminology also there then? Where I actually need context for this question of Venkat. Actually, which point of the lecture he asked, because then I would be able to connect, because it was dependent on something that I said. He said, Hare Krishna Prabhu, is it like chaste husband terminology also there then? Where? I want to know that. Okay, next question in the meantime, by Bhakta Virendra. Lord Shiva, who is Yogeshwar, taught Devi Parvati Ashtanga Yoga, which latter Patanjali composed in his Yoga Sutras, while Yogeshwar Bhagavan Kṛṣṇa explained various yogic paths in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, but stressed upon Bhava Bhakti Yoga to attain him. Is it correct? Well, I don't know about this incident of Lord Shiva actually teaching Parvati about Ashtanga Yoga, but Patanjali, yes, he composed the Yoga Sutras, and the actual Yogeshwar is actually Kṛṣṇa, the master of all yogic powers, and yes, he of course advocated the Bhakti Yoga system as the topmost in the 6th chapter, 47th verse. Next question by Bhakta Virendra. Is chanting of holy names in submissive, surrendering, focused and concentration mode will lead to conversation between our soul and super soul? Is that real chanting which leads to purification and self-realization? This can't be, imitated. We just have to follow. We have to be focused, we have to be, but it doesn't immediately we'll have a conversation with, Kṛṣṇa right away. We have to come to the point of Nama. From Nama Aparad stage, we have to come to the point of Nama Abhas stage, and then we have to climb to the Shuddha Nam stage, and then only will that be possible. So it's a lot of purification that needs. One day I chanted, attentively, it doesn't mean I have become perfect. No, and actually we are not really attentive. We are trying to be attentive, but actually, if we focus and see where our attention actually is, he is running to a million directions without even our knowing. His mind is so fast, Wow. Vishwambara Prabhu has quoted from the Katha Upanishad. Beyond the senses are the rudiments of its objects. Beyond these rudiments is the mind. Beyond the mind is the Atman known as Mahat, great. This is the exact verse that was quoted by Prabhupada. Indriyebhyah. Let's take out that. I hope I can take out in the comments. Oh yes, here it is. Oh, Vishwambara Prabhu is very nice. Always comes to my rescue. Indriyebhyah parahyartham arthebhyascha param manah manasastu parabuddhir buddheratma mahan parah. This is the actual verse. The next question, Krishna Smaranam Prabhu. How is karma evaluated when there is a heart transplant? So, fortunately, Śrīla Prabhupāda already explained this question because it was asked to him. What happens during a heart transplant? If the soul is in the heart, then what exactly happens when the heart is replaced, and how come the soul is still there? Because the soul has to go with the heart, right? So, Prabhupada explained that just like if now I am sitting on a chair. By the way, actually for the last 3 days I've been sitting on a chair. I've been sitting on the floor actually before, but my back and knee were hurting a lot. So I'm sitting on a chair now. So now I'm sitting on a chair. So if I have to sit on another chair, I will get up and this chair is removed and the other chair is put and I sit back on that chair and I'm in the same position here. So similarly, this heart is like the seat for the soul. So when the heart transplant happens, this heart is removed, other heart is put, and if it is connected and if it is suitable, the soul will sit back again in that heart. So that's how it's like, just like a musical chairs kind of thing, you know. One chair goes and another chair comes and the soul sits on that heart and life continues. So that's how it works. That's what Prabhupada explained. Then, okay, Venkatesh, Prabhu Venkatesh, Bhakta Venkatesh, he has added some clarification. You were telling about chaste women. By mistake, you told chaste husband. Chaste husband. And smile. A story about sinful Brahmana son and wife. Chaste husband. So that question was, is it like chaste husband terminology also there then? Well, he was not chaste, right? Maybe he was controlled by the chastity of his wife. Well, I did not get the joke probably because I don't really get it yet, but it's okay. Next question, Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, 20 to 23 explains something. So we have just explained that. So anyway, we can't go more in depth. Thank you very much for coming on and joining in this class. And before we close, I just want to thank all of you who have donated for this new laptop. And today we have reached the target of the fundraiser, and I thank every one of you for kindly contributing all your hard-earned money for this service of this new laptop. So we'll be getting that laptop maybe in maybe today is what? 16, maybe in a week's time probably. Then we should be able to use all that, the new laptop, in this service of Kṛṣṇa here, in live streams, and also doing a lot of services to be done actually. Thank you very, very much, all of you. I'm really surprised. So within just like 4 days practically, it was raised, and thank you all very much for that. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Bhagavad Gita ki Jaya, Śrīla Prabhupāda ki Jaya, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki Jaya, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Kṛṣṇa.